They were paying me like I was the lead, but treating me like I was just an extra walking through the background. In my mind, the show was already finished. I kept track of it the same way a man counts days in a long winter. 31 days in a row without any physical contact from my wife. Not one touch. Not a hand on my arm. Not a hug. Nothing at all. It all began with what Ashley called a serious conversation we needed to have. We were sitting on opposite ends of our couch in our downtown apartment, leaving a gap between us that already felt planned. She had that look on her face, the one that told me she had practiced every word ahead of time, probably in her head, probably more than once. "I need to set a boundary," she said, using that counseling-style language she had picked up somewhere along the way. "I do not want you touching me unless I start it. I need space so I can feel like myself again." I just sat there, trying to make sense of what she was saying. Space to feel like herself. We had been married for 5 years, and together for 7 in total. At what point did my touch become something she needed to defend herself against? "All right," I said after a moment, because I honestly did not know what else to say. "If that is what you need." The relief washed over her face instantly. It was clear she had been worried I might argue or say no. Like asking her husband to turn into a stranger inside his own marriage was something I might push back on. That was day 1. By day 3, I was already having trouble adjusting. We were watching a television show we had been following together, something familiar and easy. Without thinking, I reached for her hand. It was pure habit, something built over years of being close to the same person. She yanked her hand away like I had burned her. "Ethan, remember what we talked about?" she said calmly, firm but polite. "Right. Sorry," I answered. She turned her eyes back to the screen, but my attention was gone. I stared at the empty space between us on the couch and wondered when that gap had turned into something I was not allowed to cross. Day 5 brought another moment I will not forget. I leaned in to hug her goodbye before heading out for my morning run. Her body stiffened immediately, every muscle tight. "I thought we had an agreement," she said. "I just wanted to say goodbye," I told her. "You can say goodbye with words." So I did. Goodbye, Ashley. I ran 8 miles along the waterfront that morning, trying to run off the heavy feelings settling into my chest. It felt like I was losing something important, something I did not even have the words for yet. By day 7, I started noticing how glued she was to her phone. It was not quick checks or casual scrolling. She was fully wrapped up in it. Typing, reading, smiling at the screen in a way I had not seen aimed at me in weeks. She stayed on her side of the couch. I stayed on mine. Whatever world she was living in glowed from that little screen, lighting up her face while I watched from what felt like miles away. That night, the truth hit me hard. I was not really living with my wife anymore. I was sharing space with a roommate who occasionally reminded me that we were still legally married. After that, the days blended together. Each one brought a small reminder of the invisible fence she had put up between us. On day 12, I brushed past her in the kitchen by accident, and she actually flinched. On day 15, I sat too close to her at dinner, and she quietly moved her chair farther away. On day 19, I tried to put my arm around her during a movie. She jumped up suddenly and said she needed to use the bathroom. By day 21, I stopped trying. Not on purpose, not as a plan. I was just tired. Tired of thinking about every movement. Tired of acting like my own wife was made of fragile glass that might shatter if I got too close. Day 28 came, and I marked it in my phone calendar. 1 full month living under her rule. And through all of it, she had not reached out to me even once. No hug, no kiss, not even a passing touch as she walked by. Nothing. That is when I understood something clearly. This was never really about space. It was about creating distance. Distance from me, and only me. Day 31 fell on a Wednesday morning. I woke up, and the very first thought in my head was the number. 1 month since my wife had touched me at all. 1 month of sleeping beside someone who might as well have been on the other side of the world. I found her in the kitchen making coffee, staring at her phone, smiling softly to herself. That smile was private, warm, directed at something that was not me. Seeing it made everything snap into focus. "It has been a month," I said. She looked up, confused. "A month since what?" "A month since you set your rule," I said. "You have not touched me once." She waved her hand like I was making a big deal out of nothing. "I have been busy. Do not create drama where there is none." And right then, the last piece slid into place. I was not making anything up. It was already real. She just did not want to look at it. "You are right," I said, placing my coffee mug down slowly, careful in a way that surprised even me. "This is not drama. So let us stop acting like it is. I picked up my running shoes and walked out the door. I did not slam it. I did not raise my voice. I did not make a scene. I left calm and steady, like I was making a promise to myself about the kind of man I was going to be from that moment on. I ran for 3 hours that morning. Along the bay, through side streets, past the park, then back again. My legs felt like they were on fire. My lungs burned like they were begging me to stop. But I kept going, because every step felt like a decision. As long as I was moving, I was choosing something new. When I finally came back home, she was in the exact same place I had left her. Same spot at the kitchen counter. Same posture. Same phone in her hands. She did not ask where I had been for 3 hours. She did not look worried. She did not look curious. She did not look like anything at all. That told me everything. That afternoon, my friend Brandon called me. We usually played basketball together on weekends, something I had been skipping lately without ever explaining why. "Where have you been, man?" he asked. "You just vanished." "I have been dealing with some stuff at home," I said. There was a pause. "Everything all right with you and Lauren?" I stared at my phone for a second, thinking about how to answer honestly. "I do not know if there even is a me and Lauren anymore," I said. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "You want to grab a drink and talk?" We met at a bar near the park. Brandon listened while I laid it all out. The rule about no touching. The 31 days. The emotional distance. The constant phone use. Every piece of it. He did not interrupt me once. He just nodded now and then and let me get it out. When I finished, he asked, "So what are you going to do?" "I am done trying," I said. "Done being the only one who actually wants this marriage." He nodded. "That is fair. That is completely fair." Saying it out loud felt good. Saying it to someone who was not her felt even better. It was like proof that I was not crazy, that I was not unreasonable for feeling hurt by what she had done to us. "You deserve better than that," Brandon said, lifting his glass. "Here is to knowing your worth." We clinked glasses, and something shifted inside me. Not just in my head, but in how I saw everything around me. Like I had finally spoken the truth, and the world had accepted it. That night, I started living differently. Not loudly. Not dramatically. No speeches. No confrontations. I simply stopped acting like we were a real couple and started living according to what we actually were. Two people sharing an apartment. A lease. And a complicated past. Monday came. Day 32. She got home from work, and I was sitting in the armchair reading, not on the couch where we used to sit together. "Hey," she said, dropping her bag by the door. "How was your day?" "Fine," I said. She stood there, clearly waiting for me to ask about her day. Waiting for me to show interest. Waiting for me to play my usual part. I turned the page of my book instead. "That is it?" she asked. "Just fine." "Yes." I could feel her staring at me, trying to figure out what had changed. I did not look up. I had spent 31 days carefully respecting her boundaries. Now she could spend some time wondering about mine. Tuesday brought something new. I made dinner for myself. Only myself. A grilled steak. Roasted potatoes. Green beans. One plate. One portion. I sat down and started eating. She walked into the kitchen and stopped cold. "You are not making dinner for both of us," she said. Not a question. A statement. "I figured you would want to handle your own needs," I said calmly. "Independence and all that." "That is not what I meant when I said." "Is it not?" I interrupted, meeting her eyes. She opened her mouth, then closed it. She grabbed a box of crackers from the pantry and went into the bedroom. I finished my meal in peace. I washed only my dishes and left the rest of the kitchen exactly the way it was. Wednesday night, she suggested we watch our show together. The one we had been following for weeks. The one that used to be ours. I stayed in the armchair instead of sitting next to her on the couch, phone in my hand, half watching. "You are sitting way over there," she said, a hint of irritation in her voice. "I am respecting your space," I replied without looking at her. "I did not mean you had to sit across the room." I looked at her then. Really looked at her. "What did you mean, Lauren?" I asked. Because honestly, I do not know anymore. She did not answer. She turned back to the screen, but I noticed she kept glancing at me, like she was waiting for me to move closer, waiting for things to go back to how they were. I did not move. Thursday was the first real test. Her car would not start, and she called me from the parking garage at her office. "Ethan, I need a jump start," she said. "Can you come help me?" "I am in the middle of something," I said. "Roadside assistance is probably faster anyway." There was silence. "So you are really not going to help me?" "I am just being consistent with what you asked for," I said. Space. Physical tasks create closeness, and closeness was something you said you needed distance from. She did not respond, and I knew, without a doubt, that the balance had finally shifted. I would not want to cross your boundaries, I said calmly. You say I am being petty. I say I am being respectful. There is a real difference. She hung up on me. I sat there for a moment staring at my phone, waiting for the guilt to show up. I expected it to hit me, that familiar feeling that I had done something wrong. It never came. What I felt instead was clarity. Clean, sharp, almost peaceful. Friday night, she came home late, 9:30 in the evening, which was not normal for a regular workday. I was already in bed reading when she stepped into the bedroom. Girls' night ran late, she said, even though I had not asked. Okay, I replied. She stood in the doorway, waiting. I could tell, waiting for questions, waiting for me to ask where she had been, who she was with, why she had not sent a message. I gave her nothing. Good night, I said, and went back to my book. Her frustration filled the room. You could almost touch it, but she had no way to voice it. How could she? She was the one who built the wall between us, one careful brick at a time. She did not get to be upset now that I had stopped trying to climb it. Saturday morning brought another quiet realization. Weekends used to mean breakfast together, talking, planning the day, being around each other, even without touching. That morning, I made myself eggs and toast. I ate at the counter. I cleaned my plate. Then I went out for a run. All of it happened before she even came out of the bedroom. When I got back, she was standing in the kitchen looking genuinely lost. What are your plans today? She asked. Why are you asking? I said. She hesitated. I just thought maybe we could do something together. Like what? I do not know. Something. We used to do things together. We used to do a lot of things, I said, grabbing a bottle of water from the refrigerator. All by design. I left her there and spent the rest of the day at the park. I sat on a bench and read. I existed in my own space, the same way she had been insisting she needed hers. Sunday, she suggested dinner at our favorite restaurant downtown. The place where we had our first date. The place where we celebrated anniversaries. The place that used to mean something. I'm not really in the mood for restaurants, I said. We have not gone out in weeks. We have not done a lot of things in weeks, I said. Seems like that worked out pretty well for you. She looked at me like I had slapped her. Good. Maybe she was finally starting to feel what the last month had felt like from my side. By the end of the 6th week, the balance between us had completely shifted. She was the one starting conversations now. She was the one lingering in doorways, waiting for my attention. She was the one confused by the distance she had created. I was comfortable. Wednesday of the 7th week gave me proof. I came home early from a client meeting, earlier than usual, earlier than she would expect. She was in the bedroom on the phone. The door was cracked just enough for her voice to carry. I miss you too, she said softly. Her voice sounded warm, intimate, the way it had not sounded with me in months. I know, it is complicated right now. Thursday works. Same place as last time. He will not notice. He has been distant anyway. She laughed. A real laugh. I stood still in the hallway, listening. Then I walked away quietly, went into the kitchen, poured myself a drink, and sat down. I was not angry. That surprised me. I felt relieved. The puzzle was finally coming together. That rule about touching was never about needing space from everyone. It was about needing space from me. Space for what? The answer was getting clearer by the day. 2 days later, her laptop was open on the kitchen counter. I was not snooping. I was not trying to look. But the social media site Instagram was open, and a direct message preview was visible. The name hit me immediately. Jason Miller. She had mentioned him months earlier, casually, over dinner. A boyfriend from college who had recently moved back to town after his divorce was finalized. The message preview said, I cannot wait to see you again. I did not touch the laptop. I did not read anything else. I did not say a word. I simply stored it away with the phone call and all the other clues I had been collecting without even realizing it. Saturday, she announced she was going to book club. She was dressed nicer than usual, wearing a perfume I had never smelled before. Have fun at book club, I said, still looking at my phone. I might be late, she added, watching me closely. Okay. Late? She repeated, clearly fishing for a reaction. Okay, I said again. She stood by the door, disappointed. Like she wanted me to question her, to challenge her, to show that I cared. When I gave her nothing, she left with confusion written all over her face. After the door closed, I opened her laptop. I knew the password. She had never changed it. It was still our anniversary date. The irony did not escape me. The book club group chat was easy to find. even easier to read. Their last real meeting had been 2 weeks earlier. The next one was scheduled for the following Thursday. Not tonight. So book club was not book club at all. It was just a cover story. I almost admired the creativity. Very poetic of her, in a twisted way. When she came home that night at 11 o'clock, I was already in bed. Or at least I acted like I was. She moved quietly, trying not to wake me. I smelled it right away. She smelled different. Not like herself. Not like our apartment. It was someone else's cologne mixed with her new perfume. The smell of secrets. The smell of choices already made. I kept my breathing slow and steady. I let her believe I was asleep. Let her think she was getting away with it. The next morning, she told me book club had gone long and that the group grabbed drinks afterward. Sounds fun, I said evenly. What book are you all reading? She froze. Just for a split second. But I saw it. The one we picked last time, she said. Which one was that again? I asked. You know, she said, scrambling. The mystery one. I nodded like I believed her. Like I was not watching her struggle to hold a lie together. Enjoy your book, I said. By Friday, I had enough pieces to see the whole picture clearly. The no-touch rule had started right around the time Jason moved back into town. The phone that was always face down. Always guarded. The fake book club nights. The late evenings. The new clothes. The new perfume. The sudden energy she no longer brought home to me. She did not want space from me to find herself. She wanted freedom to be with someone else without officially ending the marriage. After all, if we were not touching anyway, did it really count as cheating if she touched someone else? That night, while she was in the shower, I searched for divorce attorneys in our area. Not out of anger. Not out of revenge. Just practicality. This marriage had already ended. She ended it the day she laid down her rule. I was simply catching up to the truth. Monday morning of week 8. She stopped me in the kitchen before I could leave for work. We need to talk about what has been going on with you, she said, arms crossed. With me? I asked. You have been cold. Distant. Acting like we are strangers. The irony was so thick I almost laughed. That is interesting, I said. Tell me, when was the last time we touched? That is different, she said quickly. I explained why I needed that. Space from me, I replied calmly. But not from everyone, right? Her face changed just slightly. Panic flashed across it before she masked it with confusion. How is Jason doing these days? I asked casually. You have not mentioned him lately. Jason? My ex? She said. I do not talk to him. I smiled. There was no warmth in it. Right. My mistake. I left her standing there and went to work, where at least things made sense. That evening, she tried a new strategy. She sat close to me on the couch, touched my arm on purpose, acted like the last 6 weeks had never happened. I moved away immediately. I am trying to be close to you, she said, hurt in her voice. Now you are, I replied. How convenient. You have been the distant one lately. I am following your rules exactly, I said. Or did those rules only apply to me? She started crying then. Real tears. A month earlier, that would have crushed me. That night, I just stood up. I am going to bed. I left her there crying and felt nothing except exhaustion. Wednesday, she announced book club again. I was ready this time. Do you? I asked. Do I what? She said. Have book club tonight. Which book are you discussing? She hesitated. The one we picked last time. Book club met 2 weeks ago, I said calmly. The next meeting is Thursday. I checked the group chat. All the color drained from her face. How dare you check up on me? She snapped. I did not check up on you, I said. I checked your story. They do not match. I do not have to explain myself to you. You are right, I said. You do not. I went back to my book. She stormed out anyway. She came home at midnight, smelling strongly of cologne that was not mine. I was still awake, sitting in the living room. You waited up? She asked, almost hopeful. I stayed up, I said. There is a difference. She leaned in to kiss me. Like nothing was wrong. Like we were normal. I turned my head away. You will not even kiss me now, she asked, sounding genuinely hurt. Whose cologne is that? I asked. Her hand went to her shirt without thinking. A friend hugged me. Goodbye, I said. Stop, I added firmly. Just stop lying. The next morning, I found a receipt in the pocket of her jacket. She had asked me to grab her phone, and the paper slipped out onto the floor. Dinner for 2 at an expensive restaurant downtown. Last Thursday night. The night of book club. The total on the receipt was $140. Wine. Appetizers. 2 main dishes. 1 dessert meant to be shared. That was not the kind of meal you ate alone. And it sure was not the kind of meal you had with a group of women from book club. That was a date. I took a photo of the receipt with my phone. Then I folded it back exactly the way I found it and slipped it into the pocket again. When I handed her the phone she had asked for, she barely glanced at me. "Thanks," she said, eyes down. "No problem," I replied. She had no idea that I knew. No idea that every lie was being logged quietly. Every detail stored away. Not for a big blow-up. Not for revenge. For clarity. I needed to understand the truth so I could make smart decisions instead of emotional ones. Friday night brought what I can only describe as a full performance. I walked into the apartment after work and stopped in my tracks. Candles were lit everywhere. Soft music played through the speakers. And Lauren was standing there in lingerie I had never seen before. "What is all this?" I asked, setting my work bag down. "I miss us," she said, stepping closer. "I miss you." "Do you?" I asked. "Or do you miss having me around as a safe option?" "Do not be like that," she said quickly. "I am here right now. I am trying." She reached for me, trying to pull me in. I stepped back. "No," I said. "Why will you not touch me?" she asked, tears forming again. "Because those are your rules," I said. "No touching unless you start it." She opened her mouth. "Oh," I added calmly. "Wait. You are starting it now. Funny how your desire came back the moment you realized I stopped chasing you." I walked past the candles, past the music, past the whole setup. I went straight into the bedroom. Behind me, I heard her blowing out the candles one by one. Each breath sounded like something giving up. The next day, she tried anger. "Fine," she shouted from across the kitchen. "You want the truth?" I looked at her without reacting. "Jason and I have been talking," she said. "We got coffee a few times." "That is it." "Coffee at midnight?" I asked. "It is not what you think." I studied her for a moment. "You know what?" I said. "It does not matter what I think. You made your choice when you created that rule." She stared at me. "You wanted to keep me at a distance while you figured out if your ex was a better option than your husband." I continued. "That was your decision. And that is fine." She swallowed. "But I made mine too," I said. "What choice?" she asked. "I am not going to be your backup plan while you shop around." Sunday brought the moment I had been half expecting. She was spiraling, crying, yelling, switching emotions every few minutes, searching for something that would still work on me. Finally, she snapped. "I was testing you," she shouted. That made me stop. "Testing me?" I asked. "I wanted to see if you would fight for us," she said. "If you would chase me even when I pushed you away. You just gave up." I let the silence sit for a long moment. Then I spoke carefully. "Let me make sure I understand," I said. "You told me I could not touch you. You avoided me for 6 weeks. You met up with your ex multiple times. You lied about where you were going." She did not interrupt. "And I was supposed to do what exactly?" I asked. "Beg harder? Chase you more? Break your rules?" Relationships take effort from both people. "I agree," I said. "And you stopped trying 2 months ago. You wanted me to keep reaching so you would feel wanted, while you went somewhere else to feel desired." I walked out. I had spent 31 days respecting her boundaries. Now she could spend the rest of her life respecting mine. On Monday, I told her plainly that I thought we should separate. The word hit hard. "We can do counseling," she said desperately. "We can fix this together." "I do not want to fix this anymore," I said. "I want to work on myself." "Ethan, please," she said. "I am sorry this hurts," I told her. "But it started hurting when you pushed me away." Tuesday afternoon, I left work early and drove around looking at studio apartments. I had found a few listings online, but I wanted to see them in person. I wanted to stand in places that could be mine. Spaces without tension, without walking on eggshells. The third apartment was perfect. Small, yes, but it was a corner unit. Big windows looking out over the street. Hardwood floors. A compact kitchen. A bathroom with good water pressure. It was empty in the right way. Quiet. Open. Full of possibility. "I will take it," I told the landlord immediately. He looked surprised. "You do not want to think about it? Talk it over with your wife?" "No," I said. "I do not." I signed the lease right there. First month's rent and security deposit by check. It felt like buying my freedom 1 square foot at a time. When I got home that evening, Lauren was in the kitchen cooking dinner. She looked up when I walked through the door, and for a second she seemed hopeful. Like maybe my being gone meant I had been thinking about us. About fixing things. "Where were you?" she asked carefully. "Taking care of some business," I said. I could see she wanted to ask more. It was written all over her face. But something in my expression stopped her. Maybe that was the moment she finally realized she had lost the right to question me. Over the next few days, I moved quietly and deliberately. I called a divorce attorney and set up a consultation. I looked at furniture online for the new apartment. I opened a separate bank account in my own name. Each step was calm, clean, final. She understood how serious I was when she saw apartment listings still open on my laptop screen. "You are really leaving me?" she asked. Her voice sounded small, almost like a child's. "I really am," I said. That was when the voicemail started. Multiple messages a day. Her voice moving through every stage of grief. Apologizing, then angry, then bargaining, then desperate. I listened to the first few. After that, I stopped. There was nothing left to say. Thursday, she left a long voicemail. I listened to it while running through the park, the city spread out in front of me like a map of new possibilities. "Ethan, please call me back," she said. "I know I messed everything up. I was testing you. I wanted to see if you would fight for me. If you cared enough." Jason and I, nothing really happened. It was just coffee, just attention when I felt invisible. I made a stupid test, and I see that now. "Please, we can fix this. I choose you. I have always chosen you. Just call me back." I stopped running and pulled out my phone. I typed a message that felt like closing a chapter. "You say you were testing me. Here is what I learned from your test. 1. You said you wanted space, so I gave it to you. Result: you did not want space, you wanted drama. 2. You stopped touching me, so I stopped trying. Result: you only wanted me when I stopped wanting you. 3. You met with your ex and lied about it. Result: you do not respect me or our marriage. 4. You wanted to see if I would fight for you. Result: I will not fight for someone who will not show up for me. Congratulations on your test. You failed. I am moving out next week. My attorney will contact you about the separation." I sent it. Then I blocked her number. Saturday, I packed my things while she watched from doorways around the apartment. Hovering, silent, like a ghost in what used to be our home. When I finished, I carried the boxes down to my car without saying a word. On my last trip, she followed me to the door. "Please do not do this," she whispered, tears running down her face. "You did this 31 days ago," I said, "when you decided I was not worth touching. I am just finishing what you started." I took off my wedding ring and placed it carefully on the kitchen counter. The gold caught the afternoon light one last time. I set my apartment key beside it. Everything that mattered fit into 7 boxes and 2 suitcases. I packed with intention. My books, my running shoes, my coffee maker, a framed photo of my parents, the blanket my grandmother made before she passed away. Things that were mine before Lauren came into my life. Things that would still be mine after. What I left behind told its own story. The wedding album gathering dust. The couple's cookbooks we never used. The artwork we bought as compromises. All of it stayed, like pieces from someone else's life. I heard her collapse behind me as I walked out, but I did not turn around. I focused only on the weight of the boxes in my arms and the strange lightness of my hand without the ring. The studio apartment was small, completely unfurnished, empty in all the right ways. That first night, I slept on an air mattress with 1 pillow, and I felt more peace than I had in months. No judgment, no tension, just quiet and the sound of my own breathing. The next morning, I woke up early and went for a run. A new route, a new neighborhood, streets I had never seen, faces I did not know. When I got back, I made coffee in my own kitchen, sat on my own floor, watched the sunlight come through my own windows. It was everything I needed, and nothing like the life I had been living before. Over the next few weeks, I built a new life on purpose. Furniture came 1 piece at a time. Every choice was mine. A couch I actually liked. A bed that let me sleep deeply. Plates that matched. The apartment slowly turned into a home. My home, built around my choices, my comfort, and my way of being in the world. I went to work. I came home. I cooked food I actually enjoyed eating. I read books without anyone interrupting me. I lived in a way that was almost aggressively normal. No drama. No emotional experiments. No walking on eggshells. Just the quiet rhythm of a man who chose peace instead of chaos. For the first time in 2 months, I slept through the entire night. 3 months passed the way pages turn in a book. Smooth, steady, almost unnoticed. I settled fully into my new place and found routines that belonged only to me. Morning runs through unfamiliar streets. Cooking meals based on what I wanted, not compromise. Reading without constantly checking the room for someone else's mood. Living without having to calculate another person's unpredictable needs felt like breathing clean air again. The legal separation went through. Divorce papers were filed. Everything moved forward with the cold, efficient finality that endings require. In December, at a work event, a coworker I barely knew walked up to me near the refreshment table. "Hey, Michael," she said. "I hope this does not sound strange, but you seem different lately. Lighter." I thought about that for a second. "I guess I am," I said. "Well, whatever you are doing," she smiled, "keep doing it. It really suits you." She was right. It did suit me. This version of myself did not apologize for taking up space. He did not shrink himself to meet someone else's unreasonable expectations. This version knew his worth and refused to bargain it down. Lauren kept trying to reach me. New phone numbers. Emails sent to my work address. Messages passed along through mutual friends. At first it was weekly, then monthly. Every message followed the same pattern. She was sorry. She understood now. She had changed. "Could we please talk?" I never answered. There was nothing left to say to someone who tested my love by withdrawing hers. One morning in late January, I was sitting in a coffee shop reading when my phone buzzed. Another voicemail from another unfamiliar number. I almost deleted it without listening, but something made me press play. "Michael, it is me," she said. "I know you will not call back, but I need to say this." Her voice sounded different. Not frantic, not desperate, just tired and honest. "I understand now," she said. "What I did was not testing your love. It was sabotaging our relationship. I was afraid of how good we were together, so I pushed you away. And when you respected the distance I asked for, I panicked." I stared at the steam rising from my coffee. "I wanted you to prove you loved me by ignoring my boundaries and chasing me anyway," she continued. "But you respected me instead. That was what I needed, even if it was not what I wanted at the time." I felt nothing but a distant kind of pity. "I was setting you up to fail," she said. "If you failed, I would have an excuse to look somewhere else. I threw away the best thing in my life because I was immature and scared. I hope you find someone who sees your value right away and never makes you question it. You deserve better than what I gave you. Take care of yourself, Michael." The message ended. I sat there for a moment, then deleted it, blocked the number, and felt a deep sense of relief settle into my bones. "Excuse me," a woman at the next table said. "Sorry to interrupt, but is that the new Murakami novel?" I looked up and saw a warm, genuine smile. "It is," I said. "Have you read it yet?" "Not yet." "Is it good?" "So far, very good." We talked easily. About books. About the neighborhood. About whether the pastries were actually worth the price. There was no tension. No performance. No strategy. When she laughed and lightly touched my arm, it felt natural. Not like a test. Not like a trap. Just human connection. Her name was Emma. She worked nearby and came to that coffee shop most mornings. We exchanged phone numbers, made loose plans to meet again, and parted with comfortable smiles. I did not know if anything romantic would come from it, but I knew something more important. I was not afraid of connection anymore. I was not afraid of rejection, or vulnerability, or offering affection without guarantees. I had learned something valuable from those 31 days of being untouched by someone who claimed to love me. The right person will not make you earn affection through games. They give it freely and consistently, or they do not give it at all. Walking away from someone who withholds love is not giving up on the relationship. It is choosing yourself. I finished my coffee, gathered my things, and stepped out into the cold morning air. The sun broke through the clouds, reflecting off wet streets like polished glass. Behind me was a version of myself who counted days and accepted crumbs. Ahead of me was simply forward.